There's a simple secret hiding in plain sight, present in every moment you live, every decision you make, every emotion you feel. Yet 99% of people on this planet have never realized it. It's not in your bank account. It's not luck. It's not even some extraordinary skill. The secret is how you breathe. And I'm willing to bet no one has ever taught you how to truly breathe. For years, without knowing, you've been letting your breath silently control your emotions, your energy, and even the trajectory of your life. But not anymore. Today, I'm handing that control back to you. I've spent countless hours studying dozens of ancient practices, scientific research, and hidden techniques, boiling it all down to 8 powerful breathing methods you can apply immediately. No fluff, no gimmicks, and trust me, the final technique at the end of this video is something almost no one talks about, but it has the potential to completely transform your inner state. Before we dive in, if you find this knowledge valuable, take a second to hit like and subscribe. It helps me reach my first 1,000 subscribers and keeps this channel alive to bring you more deep, life-changing content. Now, take a deep breath and get ready to unlock the power hiding within every inhale and exhale. Ancient civilizations knew the secret about breathing, but we forgot. You ever stop and think how something so basic, something literally keeping you alive, became background noise? Breath. You take about 20,000 breaths a day without even noticing, happening automatically, like blinking, like a system running quietly in the background. But thousands of years ago, breath wasn't something you ignored. It was sacred, essential, a tool, a doorway. In ancient India, yogis didn't just breathe, they engineered their breath. They practiced pranayama, believing that by mastering inhalation and exhalation, they were mastering prana, the life force itself. It wasn't just philosophy, it was technology of the self. Tibetan monks synchronized breath with mantras, sharpening awareness, until they claimed they could control body temperature, heart rate, even perception of time. Chinese Taoists spoke of qi, flowing through breath, aligning humans with nature. With the cosmos itself, breath was balance. The Egyptians weren't far off. The breath of life wasn't poetic. It was the animating force. Without it, the body was an empty shell. Same with the Maya. To them, the wind wasn't just weather. It was divinity moving through the world, sustaining life. And religion echoes it too. The Latin word spiritus means both spirit and breath. Genesis describes God breathing life into clay, turning dust into something living. Islam incorporates breath into ritual. You hear it in the rhythm of the call to prayer, the cadence of recitation, deliberate, intentional. Buddhists use breath to anchor themselves in presence, peeling back the noise, returning to awareness. So how did we lose this? Technology, deadlines, notifications, everything fragments attention. We scroll, consume, react, and rarely notice how shallow, rapid breathing creeps in. And when we're drained, we reach for another coffee, another headline, another dopamine hit. But modern science is catching up to something ancient cultures already knew. Those traditions weren't superstition. They were strategy. Controlled breathing shifts the nervous system, lowers cortisol, reduces blood pressure, sharpens focus. Elite athletes use it. Navy SEALs train with it. That's no accident. So let me ask, when you're stressed, overwhelmed, spinning in your head, do you even notice your breath? Probably not. But what if, instead of reaching outward, another screen, another stimulant, you turned inward, recalibrated through something as simple as one deep, intentional inhale? James Nestor, author of Breath, spent years studying this. Turns out ancient practices align almost perfectly with modern science. Breathing slower, through the nose, less, not mystical, measurable. So maybe the real question isn't why we forgot, but what's the cost of forgetting? How much anxiety, fatigue, disconnection can be traced back to something this simple? And what would shift? Not globally, but in your daily life. If you gave your breath even half the attention you give your phone, pause, notice it, Because the bridge between your mind, your body, and something greater has been here all along. We just stopped crossing it. How to instantly control stress and emotions using just your breath. Your nervous system is running the show whether you're aware of it or not. Think of it like a two-lane highway with two drivers constantly switching control. One is the sympathetic branch, fight or flight mode. This one kicks in when you're stressed, anxious, rushed. Your breath speeds up, heart races, cortisol floods your system. You felt it. During a tough meeting, stuck in traffic, scrolling bad news. The body's primed for action, but the longer it stays there, the more exhausted and reactive you become. Then there's the parasympathetic branch, the brake pedal. It slows everything down. Deep, steady breathing activates it. Heart rate eases, blood pressure drops, serotonin and endorphins get released. You shift from survival mode to calm clarity. You've noticed this after a yoga class, a long walk, or even just laughing with friends. The breath deepens naturally, without force. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Harvard Medical School ran a study revealing that 5 minutes, just 5, of slow, rhythmic breathing can reduce cortisol levels and sharpen focus. No fancy equipment, no supplements, just breath. Seems almost too simple, right? But think about elite performers. Athletes, Navy SEALs, public speakers. They all use breathing techniques to regulate nerves and sharpen performance. NBA players at the free throw line, trained soldiers before a mission, even CEOs before high-stakes meetings. Why? Because the nervous system doesn't distinguish between real threat and perceived stress. It only responds to signals, and breath is the fastest, most accessible signal you can control. Want to see how quickly this works? Try something right now. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale slowly for 6. Do that 10 rounds. Feel how your shoulders drop, your pulse steadies, your mind clears. No meditation cushion required. So here's the question. If something this powerful is literally under your nose, why do we default to caffeine, social media, or distractions when we're overwhelmed? What would shift in your day if, instead of reacting, you paused and used breath as your first move? That's not just self-care. It's hacking the entire system. The Tibetan monk technique that ignites inner fire and superhuman focus. Picture a group of Tibetan monks sitting in freezing Himalayan air, wrapped in nothing but thin robes, surrounded by snow. No heaters, no shelter. Yet their bodies stay warm, sometimes to the point that sheets soaked in ice water steam and dry on their backs. How? It's not magic. It's tummo, or what they call inner fire breath. The technique isn't just some esoteric ritual. It's a physiological switch, something anyone can access. The monks aren't visualizing flames for fun. They're literally changing their internal environment. Modern science caught up much later, but before we get to labs and data, let's break down how it works. You start by sitting upright, spine straight but relaxed. Close your eyes. Drop your attention to your navel. Imagine a small flame there. Tiny, steady, like a candle flickering at your core. Inhale deeply through the nose, filling your belly, not your chest. Hold the breath gently, lightly contracting the pelvic floor muscles. This slight tension directs the energy upward, keeping focus at the flame. Then, slowly exhale through your mouth, visualizing the flame growing, spreading warmth to your limbs, your fingertips, all the way to your skin. Repeat this rhythm. Breath, mind, body heat linked. 10 to 15 minutes and you feel the shift. No cold mountain necessary. But this isn't just ancient tradition. Enter Wim Hof, the Iceman. He popularized similar breathing methods in the West, subjected himself to lab conditions, ice baths, injections of endotoxins, and stunned researchers. Control over body temperature, stress response, immune function, all influenced by breath. His techniques, rooted in principles close to tummo, show voluntary control over systems once thought untouchable. Then came Harvard studies. Using MRI and temperature sensors, researchers confirmed it. Tummo practitioners could raise core body temperature by up to 17 degrees Fahrenheit. What was once deemed impossible? Beyond warmth, They found breathing patterns triggered norepinephrine and dopamine, tuning both alertness and mood. Think about that. Your breath, something you ignore most of the day, has the power to shift hormones, circulation, immunity, without pharmaceuticals, without external tools. And if you're wondering whether you could feel it yourself without being a monk or endurance athlete, try it. Sit right now. Close your eyes. Take 5 rounds of that breath. Deep in through the nose, belly expanding, hold with gentle contraction. Slow out through the mouth. Visualize the warmth spreading. See how quickly your body responds. It raises a bigger question. If your mind can literally spark internal fire and alter your physiology, what other limits have we accepted without testing? Maybe the real boundary isn't physical at all. Maybe it's how little attention we've paid to the mechanisms already within us. The hidden pause between breaths that unlocks your intuition. There's a space most people pass over without realizing. Hidden in plain sight, nestled delicately between inhale and exhale. It lasts maybe a heartbeat, maybe less. But that silent pause isn't just a gap. Across ancient traditions, it's described as a portal, a threshold. Tibetan monks call it the inner void, a still point where time seems to dissolve. Yogic teachings refer to it as the moment where thought itself momentarily vanishes, and what's left is something raw, unfiltered, deeply alive. In those fleeting seconds, the body stops grasping, the mind stops chasing, and awareness hovers, untethered, open, quiet. Science hasn't fully caught up with what exactly happens in that sliver of time. You can't measure the void on an MRI or dissect it under a microscope. But anyone who's consciously practiced mindful breathing has felt it. It's that moment when everything else, your to-do list, the notifications, the nagging worries, fade into the background, like stepping into a clearing after wandering through dense woods. The noise softens, and in that stillness, intuition, real, sharp intuition, not overthinking, finally has space to surface. You don't have to take it on faith. Look at high performers who operate under immense pressure. Novak Djokovic isn't just known for his physical prowess. He's revered for his ability to stay mentally composed when the stakes are brutal. He credits breathwork and meditation for his clarity. He doesn't use breath as an afterthought. It's woven into how he resets between points, how he taps into a state where the noise of the crowd, the weight of expectation, all fall away. He's not alone. Top CEOs, military leaders, artists. They understand that mastery doesn't come from being constantly on. It comes from knowing when to access that pause, that pocket of stillness, where decisions become clearer, reactions soften, and creative solutions rise from somewhere deeper. Neurologically, something fascinating happens here. Studies show that during moments of breath retention, those tiny pauses, the brain slips out of its usual beta wave pattern, the frequency linked to analytical thinking and problem solving. Instead, it dips into alpha, sometimes even theta waves. These slower frequencies are associated with relaxed awareness, intuition, and insight, the kind of brain activity you find in peak creativity, deep meditation, or even moments of flow. In essence, by simply resting in that breathless space, your brain shifts from reacting to receiving. It's why the best ideas tend to ambush us not when we're grinding, but when we're still. Ever notice how clarity appears in the shower, on a quiet walk, or just before sleep? That's no accident. It's because in those pockets of stillness, without constant mental clutter, the subconscious finally has room to speak. And here's something worth considering. If something as accessible as the space between your breaths holds that kind of potential mental clarity, emotional reset, creative breakthroughs, how often are you giving yourself permission to step into it? Because that doorway isn't reserved for monks or elite performers. It's open to anyone willing to notice it. The question is, are you? What your breath reveals about blocked energy and how to unblock it. Across cultures and centuries, people have spoken about an unseen current running through us. Something fundamental but intangible. Something that, when flowing freely, keeps us balanced, clear, and alive. India calls it the chakra system, 7 primary energy centers, each governing specific physical, emotional, and spiritual functions. China describes an intricate network of meridians through which qi, vital life force, circulates, powering the body's internal harmony. Modern Western science, slower to catch on, has coined terms like bioenergy fields and electromagnetic frequencies radiating from the heart and brain. Different languages, different symbols, but the same core truth. We are, at our essence, energetic beings. Here's the part that gets overlooked in everyday life. Most people think of breath simply as oxygen exchange. But for these ancient systems, breath was the delivery mechanism for energy. It wasn't about survival. It was about alignment. Every inhale, every exhale moves more than air. It moves intention, awareness, life force. And the fascinating thing is, when you combine breath with focus, targeting specific areas of the body, you can consciously influence how that energy behaves. You've likely felt what happens when the energy gets blocked. A heavy chest that shows up as anxiety. Tightness in the stomach that lingers after suppressing something unsaid. Pressure in the forehead when your mind is scattered or overworked. These sensations aren't just emotional or psychological. They're energetic congestion points. You can mask them, distract yourself, power through, but they stay. And the more you ignore, the more they build. Ancient practices never treated these symptoms as random. Yogis would direct breath deliberately to each chakra, visualizing light or sound dissolving stagnation. In Qigong, breath and movement pair with mental imagery, guiding qi through the meridians to prevent blockages. Even early Christian mystics described breath prayers, short, rhythmic breathing synced with repeated phrases, as a way to purify both body and soul, reconnecting with something higher. What's remarkable is how modern science has started catching up. Research on heart rate variability shows how focused, coherent breathing creates a measurable impact on the autonomic nervous system. The HeartMath Institute demonstrated that steady breathing coupled with positive focus can synchronize the heart's electromagnetic field with the brain's wave patterns, enhancing emotional regulation and cognitive function. Some studies even suggest the human biofield may interact with environmental electromagnetic fields, hinting at a deeper layer of connectivity. And you don't need a monastery or a yoga retreat to access this. The body gives you feedback instantly. Sit still, breathe deeply into your belly, notice if the tension shifts. Move the breath upward, focusing on your chest, your throat, your forehead. See how awareness alone starts untangling knots. It's simple but powerful. Here's a detail most people miss. In Chinese medicine, the lungs are considered not just the seat of breath, but deeply connected to grief. The liver, often associated with anger, can be influenced by how freely qi moves through it, which breath techniques can support. Similarly, in yogic systems, a blocked heart chakra might manifest not only as emotional coldness, but physical symptoms like shallow breathing or poor circulation. So the real question becomes, if your energy system, your breath, your mind, and your emotions are this intertwined, how much of your well-being depends on tuning into them, not once a week, but moment to moment? How often are you checking in with where your energy is stuck? And how much lighter could life feel if you learn to keep it flowing? Breathe out anxiety. Breathe in freedom. Release suppressed emotions fast. You ever think about where all those emotions you never expressed actually end up? The frustration you swallowed during an argument, the grief you pushed down to keep functioning, the fear you ignored to appear strong. They don't just disappear. They embed themselves in the body. Tension builds in your shoulders, your jaw locks, your stomach knots. Over time, this isn't just discomfort. It's chronic stress, suppressed immune function, and mental fog. It starts affecting how you think, how you feel, how decisively you move through the world. You're not just tired. You're carrying years' worth of emotional backlog. Modern psychology has a term for this: somatic memory. Emotions, especially when intense and unprocessed, get stored in muscle tissues and the nervous system. The body becomes a vault for everything the mind couldn't or wouldn't process. This is why somatic therapy, an approach focused on the body-mind connection, emphasizes breath, movement, and physical awareness to release trapped emotions. The idea is simple but powerful. If the body holds it, the body can release it. That's where breathwork enters. Techniques like holotropic breathing, pioneered by Stanislav Grof, tap into this exact mechanism. You breathe deeply, rapidly, without pause, creating a continuous rhythm. The brain's default mode network, the part responsible for constant self-monitoring, quietly steps aside. Without that filter, suppressed emotions rise to the surface. People who engage in these sessions often report intense experiences. Uncontrollable tears, laughter, tremors, even vivid memories they hadn't thought of in years. It's not random, it's the body emptying what it's been holding. Circular breathing operates similarly, with a seamless flow between inhale and exhale, no gaps. Musicians like didgeridoo players actually use this method to sustain notes endlessly, but when applied intentionally, it becomes a tool for emotional clearing. Think of it as shaking loose emotional sediment stuck at the bottom of a river. It's fascinating to see how ancient wisdom anticipated this long before science caught up. Indigenous cultures have long included breath and movement rituals, whether it's Sufi whirling, Native American sweat lodge ceremonies, or African trance dances, all rooted in physical practices that induce emotional and spiritual release. Research now supports what these traditions understood intuitively. Breathwork sessions have been shown to reduce levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, while increasing dopamine and serotonin, neurotransmitters associated with mood regulation. Studies also suggest that after deep breathwork, heart rate variability improves, a marker for resilience and nervous system balance. So think about the last time you noticed yourself clenching, holding your breath, suppressing a reaction just to keep the peace or push through. Probably felt small in the moment, but those moments accumulate. They live in the body until you consciously decide to clear them out. The beauty is, you don't need a therapist's office or a retreat center to start. You can close your eyes right now, start breathing deeply, long inhales, uninterrupted exhales, and feel the shift. The body knows how to let go. It's been waiting for permission. Makes you wonder, if every exhale could lighten that load, what's really stopping you from letting the next one go? Too busy to meditate? Here's how to hack your day with breathwork. Everyone says the same thing. There's no time. The day starts fast and rarely slows down. Alarms, emails, deadlines, notifications, all demanding attention before you've even gotten out the door. And in that blur, what's the first thing sacrificed? Not food, not coffee, not scrolling through your phone. It's your breath. More specifically, the quality of your breath. You might be breathing, but it's shallow, unconscious, barely keeping pace with your overstimulated mind. But here's something people overlook. Integrating conscious breathing into a busy life doesn't require carving out an extra hour. It doesn't mean rearranging your schedule. The key isn't about making time. It's about using the micro moments already baked into your day. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, emphasizes how behavior change sticks best when it's anchored to something you already do. Psychologists call it habit stacking. The idea is simple. Link a new habit to an existing routine, something effortless. So imagine the first thing you do in the morning. Reach for your phone. Instead of diving straight into texts or news, what if you paused for 3 deep breaths first? You're already grabbing the phone. You're just adding a few seconds of intentional breathing before it. Same thing applies in those empty spaces scattered through your day. Waiting for the elevator, sitting at a red light, standing in line at a coffee shop. Normally, you default to zoning out, checking notifications, or letting your mind spin. But these are perfect, built-in triggers. You're not adding extra tasks. You're reclaiming the pauses. Some people find physical cues helpful. Post-it notes on the fridge, a bracelet they associate with mindful breathing, a subtle alarm on their smartwatch. Neuroscience backs this up. Small, consistent shifts in breathing throughout the day can rewire the stress response. Studies show even a few minutes of deep rhythmic breathing regulate cortisol, improve heart rate variability, and enhance cognitive clarity. You're training your nervous system to stay balanced, not just when meditating, but in the middle of your actual messy, high-speed life. And here's where a lot of people fall into the trap, expecting perfection. They start with good intentions, then miss a day and scrap the whole idea thinking they've failed. But the body doesn't care about perfection. It responds to consistency over time, not whether you missed a few rounds. Breath is forgiving. The next inhale is always available. Think about this. If you could link a single deep breath to every small moment of transition in your day, waking up, opening an email, switching tasks, walking into a meeting, how different would your baseline feel by the end of the week? You're not adding something new. You're simply reclaiming the space that's already there. The pause isn't the problem. It's the opportunity. The question is, are you using it? Breathing isn't just survival. It's the key to mastering your reality. Breath isn't just a tool you pull out when you're stressed or need to calm down. When you practice it consistently, it stops being a technique and starts becoming a way of moving through the world. A way of living. It's like a quiet, steady companion that's always with you, whether you're paying attention or not. But the more you tune in, the more it becomes something far more powerful. It's the first to alert you before your emotions hijack you. Think about the last time you reacted without thinking. Snapped at someone, spiraled into anxiety, shut down completely. If you'd noticed your breath tightening, speeding up, holding itself hostage before that happened, would you have caught yourself sooner? Breath gives you a split second of space, a moment to observe before you're swept away. It's like having an early warning system built into your physiology. It also teaches you how to manage your energy, not waste it. So much of modern exhaustion isn't from how much we're doing, but from how reactive we are while doing it. Constant spikes in adrenaline, constant overthinking, shallow breathing that keeps the body stuck in survival mode. The difference between burnout and resilience often comes down to something as basic as whether you're breathing consciously or letting stress dictate the rhythm. When breath becomes second nature, energy stops leaking out in all directions. You stay charged without burning out. And maybe most overlooked, breath transforms the mundane. Waiting in line, washing dishes, walking to your car, all those filler moments that usually get drowned out by mental noise. Breath anchors you back into your body, into now, turning even the most ordinary parts of life into a chance to reconnect. Suddenly, you're not just killing time, you're fully present. It's not about breathwork as another item on your to-do list. It's about weaving breath into the fabric of how you live, so that no matter what's happening around you, you're steady, awake, and in control. The question isn't whether you have time to breathe. It's whether you're ready to let breath lead, instead of being dragged by everything else. Breath is the simplest, most powerful tool you have, and it's free. No equipment, no special place, no radical life changes required. Yet it has the power to rewrite how you experience everything. Stress, focus, even how you show up for yourself and the people around you. It's not some distant practice reserved for monks or yogis. It's here right now, waiting for you to notice. So if something inside you is ready to stop letting emotions, pressure, and chaos dictate the rhythm of your life, start small. As soon as this video ends, close your eyes. Just 3 deep, deliberate breaths. Feel your belly expand. Notice the pause. Listen. Your body is always speaking, but you've got to quiet the noise to hear it. And then, let those breaths weave into the cracks of your day. When you open a door, when you lift a glass of water, when you shift from one task to the next, pause, breathe. Over time, you'll stop reacting, stop running on autopilot. You'll start leading your life, one conscious breath at a time. If this spoke to you, don't just scroll on. Hit like so this message reaches someone else who needs it. Drop a comment. Tell me if you felt that shift. And subscribe, because this is just the beginning. You deserve to own your breath, own your energy, own your life. Why let another moment pass without realizing that power is already in you?